Hey guys, welcome back to the Python series, and today we're going to be learning about tuples or tuples in Python. So let's dive right in. Alright guys, so what is a tuple? A tuple in Python is very similar to a list. It can store multiple items just like a list, but there's one main difference. Tuples are immutable, which means you can't change their values after they have been created. Let me prove this to you guys by creating a tuple. So let's start by creating a variable, let's call it fruits, and we'll set it equal to our tuple. So to create a tuple, guys, we use these open and closed parentheses. And now we can basically put whatever values we want our tuple to have. So let's add our first fruit. Let's make it have apple. And then we'll add a comma right here for our second fruit. Let's say banana. And let's make our third fruit be cherry. And now let's try to print out our tuple. So we'll go right here, we'll type print and then our fruits variable. So if we save our code and then we run it, we should get our tuple printed onto the screen, just like a list. And there is our tuple, apple, banana, and cherry. Now let me prove to you guys that tuples are immutable. So let's come right here. And now, just like lists, guys, we can also access each item within our tuple by indexes. Remember that indexes always start from 0, so that means apple would be at 0, banana would be at 1, and cherry would be at index position 2. So, to change, let's say we want to change our fruit from apple to, let's say, mango. We can simply write fruits, and then we can use these squared brackets for indexing, and then we can write 0, and then we could say change it to mango. And if we save our code and then we run it, guys, you'll see we'll get an error. Here it is, tuple object does not support item assignment, and that's because tuples are immutable, which means they can't be modified, no adding, removing, or changing elements. Now guys, just like lists, we can also access individual elements within a tuple using indexes. So let me prove this to you guys. So let's say we wanted to access the element banana within our fruits list. We first find the index of banana. Apple is at index 0, banana is at index 1. So we simply come right where we're printing out our fruits. And now we can use the index operator, these open and close squared brackets. And now we can type the index, which is 1 for banana. And if we save our code, then we run it, you'll see we'll get banana printed onto the screen. And there it is. Let's say we want to get cherry. Cherry's at index 2. So we put 2 in between here, save our code, run it, and you'll see we'll get cherry. And that is how you access individual elements or items within a tuple. Now guys, always remember that indexes always start from 0. So that means apple would be at 0, banana is at 1, cherry is at 2, and so on and so forth if more elements were present. Alright guys, what if we wanted to know how many elements or items are present inside of our tuple? To do this, we can use the length function in Python. So right inside of our print statement here, we can simply write len, and now we can pass in our tuple or our fruits variable. So we can write fruits, and if we save our code, then we run it, you'll see we'll get the length of our tuple, which is 3. You can see if we add another fruit, let's say mango, we save our code, then we run it, you'll see we'll get 4. So we use the length function to get the length of a tuple, just like with lists. Now let's say we wanted to find the position of an element within a tuple. To do this, we can use the index method or function. So let's say we wanted to find, let's say, the position of cherry. We can simply come right here and we can write fruits, and then we can say dot index. And now the index function will take in a value that we want to find the position of, and then we can write cherry. And then if we save our code and then we run it, it will give us the index position of cherry, which is 2. There it is. Let's say we put apple, it will give us 0 because apple is at index position 0. Another method or function I want to show you guys is the count method. The count method basically gives us the number of times an element or item is present inside of our tuple. So let's say I wanted to count how many times cherries present inside our fruits list. I can just come right here, and then I could say fruits.count, and then I could pass in an argument or a value, which is cherry. And if I save the code and then I run it, it will give us the number of times cherry is present, which is 1. So let me try to add cherry to the list another time. So we can put cherry right there. And if we save our code again, then we run it, we should now get 2. And that is the count method. It allows us to find the number of times an item appears inside of our tuple. Now, there's something really important I want to show you guys about tuples. What if we wanted to create a tuple with only one single item? You probably think we could simply get rid of each one of these other items and just put the fruit inside of parentheses, and then we save our code and we run it, and then it would be a tuple. But that's not the case. Python will just identify our fruit name as a string, not a tuple. So to let Python identify it as a tuple, whenever our tuple only contains one single item, we always have to add a comma at the end to indicate that it is a tuple. So if we run our code now, you should see we get our tuple printed out properly. And that is how you create a tuple with a single item. Another cool thing we can do with tuples is packing and unpacking values. Let me show you guys an example of unpacking values. So let's say I wanted to take each one of these values inside of our tuple and store it in 2 separate variables. This is what is known as unpacking. Let me demonstrate unpacking to you guys. So we can just type these parentheses right here, and now inside of these parentheses we can create some variables. So let's create A, B, C, and D. Since we have 4 values inside of our fruits tuple, and now we can set it equal to our fruits variable, which contains our tuple. And now let's try to print out each one of these variables that we created. So we can print A, and then we can do print B, and then we can do print C, and then we can do print D. And now if we save our code and then we run it, you should see each one of our values get stored inside of each one of our variables separately. Now guys, I want to show you something. So let's say I got rid of this D right here. Let me remove this down here. You'll see we'll get an error saying something like too many values to unpack, expected 3. And the reason we got that error is because whenever we're unpacking values, we have to have the same amount of variables to store each values from our tuple. So we have to put back this D right here, and then we could do print D down here, and then we can save our code, then we can run it. And that is how we unpack values. We're basically just taking each values from our tuple and storing it inside of multiple variables. So unpacking, guys, is just a quick and clean way to assign values into multiple variables at once. Unpacking, guys, is basically just creating our tuple with each one of the values. So why use tuples? Tuples are great when you want to store data that shouldn't change. Like, for example, coordinates or a date. Tuples take less memory than lists, which can make your code a little faster. Alright, guys, that is it for this episode. You have learned what tuples are, how to create them, and why they're useful. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to smash the like and subscribe button. Stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next episode.